At the root of this incident is the extreme divisiveness of the issue of gay marriage. This, I think, stems from a lack of respect for individual rights from people on both sides of this issue. It is sad that this is our current state of affairs, because it certainly does not have to be this way, and I will explain how. As I stated earlier, I believe in the sanctity of marriage. Unfortunately, this phrase has come to be interpreted in an incorrect way. Let me explain further. I believe that marriage is sacred. I believe it is an institution created, designed, and blessed by God and God alone. In other words, marriage is what God says it is, not what people or government says it is. This concept, however, has been abused by many Christians to believe that it is somehow the role of government to protect or preserve the sanctity of marriage. This truly makes a mockery of marriage. It is not government that in the end defines marriage. Only God does that. Only God blesses and keeps marriage. The authority to marry does not lie with the state, it lies with the Creator of the universe. We have come to accept the idea of needing the license of government to be married. Most in today's world take this for granted, and I believe this to be a perversion of God's outline for marriage. Now, as to how this affects non-Christians, individual rights are to be protected. People have the right to spend their lives with whomever they choose, whether we agree with their choices or not. This is in conjunction with the biblical concept of free will. God did not create mindless, obedient robots, and He didn't create us that way for a reason. He wants us to glorify Him with our actions. This can only be done when we have a choice. Hence, we have inalienable individual rights. This includes the right to call oneself married, joined together, etc. Christians, remember that it is God that defines what marriage truly is and blesses those who serve Him. For that reason, quote, gay marriage, unquote, does not actually exist, no matter what people or governments say. This should be an encouragement to you, as it has been to me. We should live our lives in a way that we know God would have us live them, and serve others through God's love, not an attempt to conform others to our standards and definitions. This is our ultimate goal. As far as moving forward, I think it may be considered important to outline some practical steps towards accomplishing this goal. First is education. I want others to be informed of these ideas. Many, I'm sure, have never heard anything like this ever stated, especially in the political arena. As I stated before, both sides are looking for some grand government solution to this issue. Most conservatives are looking for an amendment to the Constitution defining marriage between a man and a woman, and most liberals are looking for legislation legalizing gay marriage in every state. Both of these stem from a statist mindset, and I do not believe either to be in the right. If nothing else, this is clearly an issue for the states. The 10th Amendment to the Constitution, listing the enumerated powers, says absolutely nothing even remotely related to the regulation of marriage. And the same amendment makes it clear that any powers not specifically given to the federal government are to fall to the states. So again, at the very least, the notion of a constitutional amendment or legislation increasing the federal government's influence on marriage law is absolutely absurd. But I believe to remedy this issue we have to go even further than that. The phrase marriage law itself, in a republic like ours at least, is such a perversion of the concept of marriage. The problem comes in the use of marriage as a legal term, because it is not a legal term, it is a religious term. If we are to preserve the sanctity of marriage, we must end its use as a legal term. A good start to this is ending tax breaks for married couples. Now, your taxes should be lower than that anyway, but that's for a different post that is altogether too long. But stop and think about the concept of tax breaks for married couples for a moment. Absurd, isn't it? Why, in the name of freedom and equality and all that makes America great, should some people have to pay more in taxes just for not, by choice or by chance, being married? The Bible makes it clear that some people are meant to be single. This is a concept that is not only nonsensical, but altogether unfair and unconstitutional. Throw out the tax benefits of marriage, and there's no need for federal regulation of marriage. However, I believe that the ultimate solution lies in the eventual elimination of marriage laws in the United States. Now you have to be asking, how does this work? Well, from a political standpoint, it is done by each state independently eliminating its marriage laws. But most people wonder about the practical standpoint. It's actually quite simple. If you choose to be joined to another person, you can have whatever kind of ceremony, officiant, location, etc. that you choose. Everyone benefits from this scenario. People formerly denied the right to call themselves married now can if they so choose, with no effect on others. And traditional marriages are now truly sacred, as their marriage is centered and authorized by God, not a man-centered government. Two people, standing before God and His church, being joined in holy matrimony by a servant of God, whose authority derives from God and God alone. This is marriage. To protect the sanctity of marriage is to get the perversion of government out of marriage. Marriage is exactly what God says it is, and I believe that that is a fact, but others can disagree, and that is their right. If we do not protect everyone's view of marriage, we cannot fully protect our own. When government is removed from the picture of marriage, everyone's rights and beliefs are upheld. Marriage is sacred, and no one else can diminish the sanctity of your marriage but yourself by your own actions. What others believe on this issue does not affect you, nor does it alter truth. As I said before, the divisiveness of this debate stems from a lack of respect for individual rights from both sides. One side seeks to force a narrow definition of marriage on others, while the other side seeks to legitimize a movement and gain social acceptance via legislative action. Hear this: neither is practical nor possible, and this much should be obvious from our current state of affairs. It is not moral either, as I have already shown. Not until we realize that government is not the solution, but is in fact the problem with this issue, will we come to a real solution. The real solution is understanding of one's own beliefs, a commitment not to compromise on them personally, and an acceptance of others' rights to have their own beliefs as well. Then, and only then, can everyone live their own lives as they see fit, and Christians effectively reach out in love to the world around them. Thank you so much for listening. I welcome open-minded discussion on this issue. Thank you again for your time.